There. Okay.
Yes. There you go.
There we go. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and super thank you, mahalo, to our two guest speakers today. I'm delighted, proud, and humbled on behalf of the East Hawaii Cultural Center to introduce Dr. Pualani Kanakaʻole Kanahele, the retired kumu hula of the Halau Okekuhi. I'm also delighted to welcome Dr. Noe Noe Wong-Wilson, retired professor of the Hawaii Community College. And they're going to be speaking mostly from the PowerPoint, but I do want to do a little introductory question of my own to start us off, and then I'll turn it over to them. We are currently hosting a wonderful, very exciting show for us, the HO'OKUPU, Unifying the World One Offering at a Time, representing gifts to the keepers of Mauna Kea. And some of the words I thought I would just ask our guests to translate or explain a little for the rest of us. First of all, we're going to hear about HO'OKUPU.
What is that? What?
We'll talk about other HO'OKUPU.
Okay. So I wonder if you could maybe tell us a little bit about HO'OKUPU and Kupula, the pillars of Mauna Awakea.
We'll do that as part of the discussion.
Okay. Okay. I guess we'll defer that to them. In that case, then I think I'm just going to turn it over to our speakers. Again, thank you so much for doing this.
Hello for inviting us.
Okay, maybe Noe Noe, if you would like to share your desktop, and I turn it over to you.
Yes, I'm going to share screen here and set this up. So,
Yeah,
aloha, everybody. Can you see that?
Looks beautiful.
So we're here this morning. Let me just start with this afternoon for this discussion on HO'OKUPU, Hula and Ritual, with Auntie Pua, Dr. Pualani Kanakaʻole Kanahele, and myself. And this is the title of our presentation. Before we start, though, I just want to acknowledge a couple people who are here on the Zoom with us, and that is Pua Case. Pua Case is a important part of Kukulu, the pillars of Mauna Kea, Mauna Awakea. She has established art exhibits and photographic exhibits of the events of Mauna Kea over the last couple of years and before at several locations around the island, and currently there is one in Kohala. So if you have a chance to visit out in North Kohala at the Bond Center, Pua, if you could just unmute, tell us where that is, then I just want to acknowledge that there is another exhibit there at the Bond Center. And then also, I want to acknowledge Bob Douglas, because he is, as you can see by this announcement, he is a solo exhibit, and he is also the artist of this particular presentation, this piece of which comes from his painting, and you'll see a little bit later in this display. So with that, we can begin. So Auntie Pua, you want to start with, what does that mean, Kukulu, Pillars of Mauna Awakea?
I'm going to do a chant.
Yep.
Oh, I love you, I name but back in the way, Igumale, why, Moki, Ela, you say, you may you are Noe. No. The chant is about the uplands, the Kuahivi, the Kualono. And the Kuahivi, the Kualono exists because of our mauna. If we didn't have a mauna, we wouldn't have a Kuahivi, Kualono. They're the tops of the mountains, but they're also the place where our trees grow. And our trees are a very necessary part of our life here in Hawaii. And the basic ideas for the trees is that it pulls down water. And water is what the two mountains are all about. It's about gathering the water, as you see in this photo, but it's also about stopping the clouds. And so the clouds will rain. And then the water will go back into, after it comes down, a transpiration. And then it goes back into the clouds. And so there is a give and take between the atmosphere and the earth. And a large part of it for us in Hawaii has to do with the mauna. And that's one of the reasons we are so adamant about maintaining the mauna as it is, because that's where our kupunas, we're adamant about maintaining the mauna as it is, because it has a purpose. And we want the purpose to be all about elements. And the elements has to do with our weather system here in Hawaii. Also has to do with building up our islands. Because we live on an island, we have the occasion of erosion. And in order to exist on an island, we luckily have a volcano on our island. That's what our mountains are all about. They're about volcanoes and they're about building. And so when there's a volcano eruption, we don't complain about it. You know, we give mahalo and thanks. That's part of the idea of kukulu. The kukulu is building up. And the volcanoes, as you see here, are those things that build up. And those things that give us life or give us a place to exist here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So that's one of the ideas of the kukulu. The other idea of the kukulu is all of those things like that I talked about in the chat. It's about trees. And it's about the relationship of trees to the atmosphere, taking down the rain, sending up the water. So that cycle, that's a kukulu for life, okay? And if we understand that, then we as people that live on the island should go and promote the maintenance of these mountains. Then it makes us the kukulu. And so kukulus come in many different forms and shapes, but basically same purpose. So we have life and we have a place to exist on these islands. Okay. And if you know a way of making an island without having the volcano, yeah, build your own island and build those things on top of it and do whatever you like. But in our island, that's not what you do. That's not the purpose of this mountain. Okay, that is my political thing. I will go on from there. Thank you very much. Move along. This is all about HO'OKUPU. And what they are doing is presenting HO'OKUPU. And the idea of HO'OKUPU, kupu is to grow. Kupu is a bud, a thing that grows. And so the island, when it begins to grow, is a kupu. And the trees, when it begins to grow, it is also a kupu. And flowers, when it begins to grow, it gets kupu. And children, when they begin to grow in the mother's stomach, it is a kupu. The HO'OKUPU is to make it grow. And so we give HO'OKUPU to suggest that the purpose of it is for growth. And the growth is either spiritual or physical. Okay. And so the intention is always positive. It's always beneficial. HO'OKUPU is always beneficial. Nothing negative about it. Okay. HO'OKUPU is offered from the depths of one's soul. Okay. So they all come and they all give. And this is what they know how to do. This is what they know how to do because they've learned it for generations. You give. And the giving of HO'OKUPUs come from familial ties, usually. Familiar ties. So you learn this in your family and you continue it. The idea of HO'OKUPUs are that they have some that's tangible and some that's intangible. Prayers are intangible. We have other intangibles. HO'OKUPUs are both giving and receiving. And so the idea of HO'OKUPU is an act of reciprocity. It's like the trees when they bring down the rain and they give back the water. That is an act of reciprocity. That is HO'OKUPU. Okay, that's all part of HO'OKUPU. And so HO'OKUPU in itself is reciprocity. I give you this, you give me this, and we both live. Okay. Okay, when engaged in HO'OKUPU, everyone grows. And so that's what this is all about. The experience on Mauna from July 20th to 2019 to March 2020 is what we'll be exhibiting some of the articles that we received and on the Mauna. And there are many different kinds of articles that we receive. You know, as I said earlier, we receive food and we receive water and we receive containers to keep our food in. Okay, so go on with the next please. Okay, this is one of the HO'OKUPUs that was brought on the Mauna. And this was brought from actually Kamehameha schools. And the students were the ones that made it. And they brought it on the Mauna to give us the energy and the strength to move on with what we were doing and the support. And their HO'OKUPU is a feathered lei. And the feather, of course, is something that belongs to the environment. The lei is in a circle. And when you have leis in a circle, it completes a particular object to have something that's in a circle. It gives it strength. It moves it along. And so this was their offering from the particular school. This was the offering of kahili. And the offering of kahili was from Pu'ukohola. We had actually offering of kahili from different people, didn't we, Noe Noe?
Yes, yeah, we did. This one in particular with the black stripes around the handles were made by individuals related to Pu'ukohola and the organizations that honor that place and their history. And so it was a beautiful day when they came in procession with 40 of these kahili that were made by individuals. And if you recall, those of us that were there, is the sky reflected this HO'OKUPU. Remember the clouds were the light feathery wispy clouds that day. It was just a remarkable thing to see as these HO'OKUPU were brought up in ceremony up the ala, up the road toward the kupuna tent.
Yeah, what was great about the clouds is that they're called Manus, Manu clouds, and they're called Manu because the way it moves because of the wind, and you have all of these little splits in it, like the feather of the bird. And so when they brought it, we had all of these Manu clouds up in the sky. And so this was very significant, very profound time to be presenting all of these HO'OKUPUs, these 40 kahilis. And kahilis, of course, were things that were given, very special things that were given to the people of honor or that somebody that they want to give honor to. And to share their bird feathers. And in the traditional days, bird feathers were only used by people of rank, the ali'i. And so their cloaks were made of bird feathers because they belong to a particular strata of people, but they also belong to a particular strata of the atmosphere as well. Okay. And so the earning of the kahili and the feathers by the ali'is. And most of their things, as I said, were made of feathers. Very honorable to have received the 40 kahilis from Pu'ukovala. Mahalo to them. The ipu is grown by a gentleman from Volcano. And he initially was from California. And because he was growing this ipu and he knew that the Hawaiians were using it, he moved to Volcano. And he found a really, really great place in Volcano to grow the ipus. I won't tell you where it is because it's kind of a secret. But he's very generous about giving the ipus to people who will use it. And the ipus, of course, are used for hula. And this is called an ipu heke because it has a top on top of it. Top is a heke. And otherwise, we just use the bottom of the ipu as we begin to dance. And it's a lot easier to handle. But when you have a heke, it's the echoing of the sound that gives it become more vibrant and echoes the sound of the ipu as it hits the floor. With the utete.
Right.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Go back one.
Back.
Oh.
Go back.
Oh, back.
Go back.
There.
Okay. Mahalo. This the wood portion that you see way on top, the kapu aloha, mauna kea, is from a group from Kau, and it's made of milo wood. And they brought it as a way of giving their aloha. This is their HO'OKUPU, their aloha and their support to Mauna Wakea. And so we hung it there. The other two are from Japan. And if Kekuhi is on, she can explain this a little bit more. Are you on, Kekuhi? Yes, you are not.
She should be. You have to just unmute Kikuhi.
Oh, let me let Kikuhi do that.
Oh, here. There.
Yes. Hello,
Hi,
everybody.
Kekuhi.
Yes, mother. Hi.
I wanted
Hi.
you to explain the two flags on the bottom of this.
Oh, so these were created by my hula students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ulu ka ohia. Not sure if you were there when we all came up to the Mauna, but this was their expression. I'm not exactly sure how to explain everything they created on there, but it was their expression of aloha. And then we offered some hula. I think that was about it. Mm-hmm.
Were they from Japan?
Yeah, they're from Japan, and there's a large Japanese organization that helped raise funds. So that's another thing that they brought along with their banner is whatever they raised. They made t-shirts and all that. It was very organized. Very, I don't know. It was one, and they have a huge love for their own mountains, especially Fuji-sama. So when they see our mountain, they say they see their own mountain. So that's why they were moved to create the banner and come all the way from Japan and offer this. Mm-hmm.
And and understand what aloha aina is, you know,
Yeah.
because them in their own native land do understand aloha aina. And the whole idea of kapu aloha and the idea of the mauna and their in relationship to their mauna. So they have a similar relationship, but a similar passion for the aina. And therefore they put out all of the messages that you see on this particular flag or cloth that you see here. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now these are staffs. And staffs are usually, and we still use a lot of staff today. And you see people walking around with staffs that they carve, or, but these are staffs that are made from kau as well.
It's actually one staff and it's just two close-up pictures so you can see the detail. Yeah, but the whole staff picture is on the
Two
left.
staffs, but this is another staff. And, oh no, that's the same staff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the great thing about this staff, well, thank you for saying that. The great thing about this staff is that it has images of creatures. One creature that lived in the ocean, another creature that lived on land. And usually when we have staffs, whoever is carrying the staff, if he's made his staff up, made his creatures, the creature means something to him. Whether the creature is from the ocean, and for us, the creature of this ocean is the he'e. And the he'e is a very deep water fish, deep water creature. And the he'e is very intelligent. And I like the idea that he gave accent to the eye of the he'e. Because when the he'e looks at you and you look at the he'e, you know that he is already thinking about who you are and what you're doing. You know, so the he'e does that. So there's a relationship to creatures. And for many of the natives, and I know for the Hawaiians, is that we do have earthy creatures such as the he'e, such as the pueo, that is what we call aumakua. And aumakua are demigods to us. They're things that carry the spirit of our relatives who have gone. And so because our relative was close to the idea of an owl or a pueo, then the pueo that comes back to you is that relative. Okay, and so that there is a message between the pueo and you, or the message between the he'e and you. And so the creatures are as important for us as anything else that lives. Whether the creatures are the centipedes, or whether the creatures are the loli that lives in the tide pools, or whether the creatures are the hawk that flies up, the eo that flies in the sky. We have a relationship with those creatures. They're as important to us as any other creature that lives and breathes and have life and go through a regenerative cycle. So I love the fact that he is portraying the creatures. Okay. And this is a painting that was put together by a young lady from Kanaka, Makaiba. And she's a painter, and I'm not sure what the whole idea of the painting, but you can see other things behind it or through it. And so I think that she tried to express a lot of things coming through with the mountain in the background and the whole idea of life. But her name is Makaiba. What is Makaiba's last name?
Makaiba Kanui.
Makaiba Kanui. Yeah, young lady.
An emerging artist. Yeah.
Beautiful job. this is a ki'i. And the ki'i is Hawaiian, and we are not really sure who gave it to us. And I think it was just brought and left with us.
In the coup season.
Yeah, in the coup season. So we think that it is related to coup, and coup has a season between the summer solstice, the equinox, the spring equinox, right past that into the almost to the fall equinox. That's coup season. Okay, that's when things begin to grow upright and become strong and become aggressive. And so that's one of the reasons we have coup season.
And while we were up on the Mauna, we honored that seasonal differences with the images like this ki'i during the season of coup, and another one which you'll see a little bit later.
Okay, I'm going to look at these three at one time, because all of these represent medicine. And the whole idea of either mixing your medicine, storing your medicine, or making it to give out. And so they were given by different people. And we have a more defined picture of this bundle that's over there. But the middle of it is an ipu that is made to either keep a medicine in or begin to mix the medicine. And eventually when you after you keep the medicine in and you begin to mix it up, what you do is for the Hawaiians is that you take it out and put it in a stone bowl, and that's when you mix it, and that's when you get it ready to actually give. But this is where you actually keep the medicine. Okay. And this is from the Pueblos, this little cup on the side. And they use it to after they prepare the medicine to actually give you the medicine with. And so we'll talk about this one after we get to that.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Okay, tell us about this one, Noe Noe.
Okay, so this one is a beautiful 8 by 4 foot painting by Bob Douglas, who is present here and is also displaying his other artwork in the adjacent room at the East Hawaii Cultural Center. And it is Bob's gift that he gave to me up on Mauna Kea, and it is his rendering of the Mauna. And Bob, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell the story. What you said to me is because Bob and his wife Ui would often spend the evenings, spend nights and days and nights on the Mauna with us. So this is an image of what we would see when we woke up early in the morning as the dawn was breaking and the light would start to shine, and oftentimes it would be that orange glow or that pink glow. And the mist, the heavy fog, the lilinoe would still be settled down on the mountain. It had not evaporated yet from the warmth of the sun. And we would be looking up at Mauna Kea and see these pu'u up there at the top. And then this ribbon of mist that surrounded this beautiful mountain at, I don't know, about maybe the 10,000 foot level. And then the clouds, the wispy clouds up above. So this is, and then the dark lava, the black lava as the mountain, as the land came closer to us, where we were in the camp. So this is that image, and something that those of us who stayed on the Mauna, woke up to the early morning light, we'll never forget this site. So it's beautiful, and it was used as part of the poster announcement for the exhibit. So mahalo, Bob, for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And this is
Here's
another key from New Zealand. And do you want to explain?
Sure. This is a ki'i that was gifted to us. It was brought to us during the coup season. So we had it standing sentinel with the other ki'i that we saw, the two of them side by side, and they were awake and alert and posted at their place out in front of the tent where the kupuna gathered every day during that time of coup, while we were on the mountain from, as Antipua said, from about the spring equinox to the fall equinox in that period. So it's distinctly Maori, as you can see, with the facial features, the moko or tattoo carving around the mouth, and even the hair on the top and the cape, as well as the piu-piu or the skirt that this ki'i wears. So his name is Mataroa, I believe that's the name that was given to him.
Okay.
They're about the same size, these two ki'i, and they were not created by the same individual. So it just happened that when they were brought to us, they just matched, standing side by side, and shows obviously not only the relationship between us and our cousins, our Maori cousins, but the solidarity that they stood for us all the way down there in Aotearoa.
Okay, this is the lauhala piece that we see up here is an actual piece of clothing that the Maori, or not the Maori, but the Samoan and the Tongan men wear. It's called a Tawala. And they wear it on very special occasion. It's a very formal wear for them. And if you're giving an important talk, they'll wear it. If they're graduating from college, they'll wear it. If they're at a ceremony, they will wear it. Okay, so it's a very important piece of clothing that was offered. And the drums that you see are tuere, and tuere is from Tahiti. And you can see all the Tahitian words on it. But it's their drum. It's how they keep rhythm for dances and for other things as well.
Okay.
This is a really, really beautiful piece of kapa or tapa. And kapa is made of mulberry cloth or mulberry bark that we call wauke. And so we take the wauke bark and we soak it for days. And we bring it out, strip it down, and then we pound it out. And it gets larger and gets larger and gets larger. Then we pound 2 or 3 together and it gets larger. So it's a lot of work for women. And the women of Tonga and Samoa still continue, and Fiji still continues this work and of tapa. Hawaiian women have picked it up in the 1980s is when they started picking it up again. And now they have a whole group of women doing kapa. And then the big work, besides spreading the little pieces of what you call it? Bark, yes, thank you.
Bark.
Spreading the little pieces of bark out at least 8 to 12 inches, and then adding another one 8 to 12 inches in order to make this piece. It's a lot of work, and they take pride in what they do. So we're very, very honored to have this piece up there. And it's not only that it's kapa, but the designs on it was done with a lot of patience. And I'm not sure what the designs are. We haven't, you know, when they give us something, we don't have that time to sit down and say, what is this? What is this? Why did you make it this way, etc. But we have basic understanding of what it is and why they're getting it. And kapa is a cloth that we always had as natives in the Pacific. And it's what brought us up to the late 1800s was a kapa. That's what we wore for generations, eons. And so we're honored to be able to show a really excellent piece of kapa at this exhibit. Thank you. Okay, you see the ipuheke that you see there. This other piece that's on the side of, we're looking at the background. On the side is an old paddle, but it was brought by a gentleman. Do you know about it, Noe Noe?
Yes, and actually there's a bigger picture of it a little bit later.
Okay.
So maybe we can focus on the Kanoa and the kapa quilt.
So the idea of the kapa, or actually it's a quilt, and it was done by the Haida women who brought it. They brought 3 quilts, and this is the most impressive of the 3. And the triangle, of course, is the mountain itself. What is outstanding to me about this particular quilt, we call quilt kapas as well, quilt, is that they have the mountain at 3 different levels. They have the mountain below and in the dark blue, and then they have a lot of brown in between. And then up there, the very tip of the mountain is up in the blue again. So I think they did this in purpose. They didn't tell us why they did it. So I'm thinking that they did it on purpose. The bottom tells you that it comes from underground, and then it moves up into the area that we know as the atmosphere where people exist, creatures exist. And then it popped up above of the atmosphere where we're supposed to exist, into the atmosphere that has very, very little air. And then that's one of the things, it became Mauna Wakea. It belonged to that space up there. And so they did an excellent job of presenting that theme of kukulu ka'aina, or kukulu kamauna. In our foreground, we have a Kanoa. Hawaiians call it the Kanoa. It is not a Hawaiian Kanoa. It is a Samoan Kanoa. And the Kanoa is a ava bowl. And the ava is the drink that we use ceremonially. And ava is a really good medicine, actually. It's much like marijuana. It has the same kind of medicinal properties. And you know, we take advantage of the marijuana and we misuse it, but it really is a good medicine. So yeah, use it as medicine, stop using it as a stupid thing. Okay, anyway, back to our Kanoa and our ava. Ava is a really good medicine. It was used for ceremonial purposes. This is our ceremonial drink. Okay. And in all of our ceremonies, the first of the offerings to the deities, the first of the offerings to the Aina, or the land, first of the offerings to our ancestors who have passed is the ava. Okay. And so that is in itself a HO'OKUPU, an offering. Okay. But this particular Kanoa is a typical Samoan Kanoa. It has all of the pillars the holly that's holding it up. I don't know if it's pillars only of the holly or the pillars of the earth that they're looking at, and the Kanoa bowl is being the center of the earth.
And there were many times when groups from Fiji, Tonga, Samoa came to visit us, and they brought their ava. They prepared it in front of us in their traditional ways. They served it to some of us. It was really a beautiful exchange and a beautiful thing to witness, the traditional way that they performed their ava ceremony, and you could witness the small differences between the different culture groups, between the way Hawaiians prepare their ava and serve it, and the way these other island nations do as well. So it was really a learning experience for all of us.
But it's nice to see the connections between all of us, and the moving it forward, the forward movement of it, and the continuation of it. And so it was a great experience for all of us. This whole 9 months up on the mountain was a great experience for a lot of people. So go on. Okay, this is Aztec. This is from Mexico, and the cloth is Aztec. The container is, and I'm really not sure what all of the significance is with the container. But anytime to me that you have a container like this, it has to do with medicine, what you keep in it. And the idea of making one healthy. Okay. And so that's basically all I know about this object. And so if anybody else has.
Nope. I think, and the scarf was gifted as well.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gifted together.
Okay, here's the picture of the medicine bundle.
Do you want to go with that one?
Sure. So this was displayed in the other photo that we saw earlier. It's deer skin, and inside are all of the various medicinal herbs and plants that healing for healing that the Native American group who gave it to us. I was trying to figure out which group. I'm sorry, Puakesa, if you're there and you can unmute yourself, maybe you can explain a little bit more. But this bundle has not been opened. We didn't open it up to see what's inside. We know the purpose for which it was given. We know that inside is probably items like sweetgrass and perhaps antler, horn, or other kinds of medicines that the Native American tribe uses. So, Larry, can you unmute Puakesa?
Sure, let me try.
On there? Yeah, she can't unmute herself, so you have to unmute her. But she received this bundle and she knows a little bit more about what's actually inside. But just the fact that if you look at it carefully, you can see it's wrapped in deer skin, and so it's kept that way. It's kept that way. We have not opened it. We're not going to take it apart.
Okay, I think she's co-host now.
Okay, aloha everybody. This is a really special bundle. It was presented to me on the ala hulu kupuna, which we named because of those 40 kahili that came up from Pu'ukohola by LaDonna Brave Bull Allard, who came up not once, but twice from Sacred Stone Camp and Standing Rock to stand with us, because a number of us had stood with them in 2016 and 17 from Mauna Kea traveled to North Dakota. So what she presented to me that I can talk about right now, there's a skirt in there, a traditional skirt, that ribbon skirt that they wear. That is a really high honor when you receive one. Some jewelry. There was medicine and other really, for them, cherished objects that she presented to me, which I did remove from the bundle and kept at home, because I wanted to make sure that whatever we presented was approved by her and by her people. So she's a Lakota Sioux and recently passed. So to have this bundle as part of this kukulu exhibit, knowing the efforts that she went through, and is really emotional for me. And I know for a number of you who just heard her speak on the ala and heard her talk about the connection between them fighting against pipelines to us standing in the very way that we did. And she learned a lot, and she also taught us a lot while she was here. So mahalo for asking me to contribute there about this very important bundle from LaDonna.
If I might, could I add a little bit? I talked to Andre Kramars, our gallery director and curator here, and he said he was particularly moved and excited by these wrapped objects and gave special care. The Mexican piece that came with the handkerchief, or with a cloth, and those three on the shelf. So he was very proud of those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Pua. That's beautiful.
Yeah, she just.
And then it's even
It's-
more special because we know that she's in another place now.
But she's still present.
Yeah. Okay.
This is also Haida, and Haida, the females from, but they're the Haida from Anchorage, Alaska. And so they left there. It's a cape that they left with us. Okay.
Yeah, and it depicts their amakua, so their tribes ancestral representation of the creatures from the ocean. That's what whale and the other image is. So that's beautiful. That's also a really big treasure.
This is a handbag.
This is from Taiwan. So, you know, we had people from all over the world come and visit us. And in this particular case, this group of people came from Taiwan. They left us a couple of items, and this is just part of it. It's a traditional Taiwanese, indigenous Taiwanese bag. So, you know, we don't always know that in Taiwan there's an indigenous population. They're not Chinese. The Chinese are their colonizers, and if you keep up with that politics from that part of the world, they're still fighting for their own independence. So they're very attracted to what we did on the Mauna, and they came to honor us. And this is just one of the beautiful gifts that they left behind. So it's a shoulder strap bag. It fits all the way across your shoulder and hangs down by your hip. It's really beautiful.
Hello. This is also Taiwanese. And it is, because it's a container, I think that it's still one of the containers that you maintain your medicine in. And so this is offered at the same time as the
bag.
Yeah. This is a painting, and the artist says that it is Hula.
It's a sand painting.
On a sand painting on Mauna Kea. Yeah, it is a sand painting. And these are the clouds that's coming up the mountain. And yeah, did a great job.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really beautiful. You can't, I mean, when you go close to it, you can see that it's actually sand that is glued or attached to this to create this artwork.
The artist is Chinese
Mhm.
or
I think
don't
she's
know.
Chinese.
it's Oriental. She did a great job.
She's signed. She's signed down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of detail in it. So, you know, if you're familiar with
She's
the sand art,
She's from Beijing.
Beijing.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the Chinese or the sand art that's done by the monks, it's really something similar, that kind of genre. But the fact that it's a painting and not just something that's on the floor is really allows us to display it and put it that way. Yeah. So that's beautiful. Okay, so here is that paddle that was presented to us, and we call this a gift from the world because, as you can see, the presenter has written the support for the Mauna. We are in nature, we stand in kapu aloha together. And he wrote locations from around the world: Ireland, Norway, Bosnia, Slovenia, Aotearoa, Australia, Maui, Turtle Island, Japan, Germany, France, Italy. I believe that those are the places that this group of people who presented this to us came from. And so, you know, as we mentioned, people came the 9 months we were there. They came from, of course, all of our islands, but from everywhere. And we were always surprised. We're going to talk a little bit at the end of this about the presentations, but we were always so surprised and pleasantly surprised when people would come up the ala and do a formal presentation, and then announce to us where they were from, because they truly came from places like this all around the world. And it was done on a piece of driftwood. So so we find it's a really beautiful memory of their support. Yeah. This is also the flag that was, while we were up there, there was a movement in New Zealand, Aotearoa, over a piece of land. It was a dispute amongst the tribes and the government over a piece of land that was located near Auckland. It's not the main city of New Zealand, but it's where the large airport is, where you would enter the country. And that area and the marae, the tribal area, is called Ihumatao. And it ended in a peaceful manner, and the tribe actually received their land back, but they were there occupying their land space at the same time that we were up on Mauna Kea. And as we were surprised to find that the news coverage of what we were doing was sent around the world, we found out that they were watching us. And you know, technology nowadays, whether it's Facebook or live streaming, they were able to keep track of what we were doing, and we were able to watch them and communicate with them and keep track of what they were doing and how they were being successful. And they really took note of our peaceful resistance. And so they did what they needed to do in a very peaceful way. They sent this flag with a delegation of people from their tribe who came to visit us and brought us gifts, but also this flag, which was signed by the people who were living and occupying the space there at the time. So this is a special flag from Ihumatao. And it just reminded us always that this wasn't, what we were experiencing on the Mauna, the reason why we were there was not only happening here in Hawaii, but many indigenous groups around the world are suffering through the same kind of effect, and hopefully gaining their strength from each other and the way that we take our stand. So that's what this flag is.
How many flags did we have up in the Mauna?
Oh my gosh, I didn't count them. But I'll see if one of our pictures showed. We had flags from around the world, literally, and we would fly them along the roadside. It was really a beautiful, beautiful display. So we kept most of the flags. Some of them got worn pretty badly from the wind up on the mountain. It's pretty bad sometimes. But that was, it just became something that happened. People would come from away, they would bring their flags with them. And so we had flags from countries around the world flying in solidarity with us up on the Mauna.
Okay, thank you. This is our aha, instruments of our aha. And we had aha 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and sunset. And they also had a ceremony early in the morning at sunrise, but the aha ceremony was at 8 o'clock. And but these are the instruments that were used for the aha ceremony. We had other drums, but this particular drum was made for the Mauna and to be used in the Mauna. And it was made by Noe Noe.
I don't remember the name of the person who made that drum, but it is a tall drum. It's about
it comes up to your chest.
Yeah, up to the chest. Yeah.
A buddy.
Makaiba. Buddy, you're right.
Yeah.
Uncle Buddy.
Who did that? Thank you, Presley.
Thank you.
And so we have the drum, and then we have the ipu, then we have the shell pu, and we have the OKUPU. And the pus are to let people know that we're starting. This is it. This is the beginning. Pay attention. Okay. And so it's now also not to only let people know, but the pu is also to announce to the elements and whoever else is out there listening to us. Maybe our ancestors are floating around, that we're ready to begin the aha, and please join us. So it's a way of pulling everybody together. When I say the word aha is ceremony, but what the ceremony does, it connects us to things. Aha is a cord that connects you from one thing to another thing to another thing. When you look at a spider web, that's an aha, because it connects everything. And so when we say aha, basically we mean it's a ceremony, but literally it means it's a cord. Then the cord, what the cord does, it connects us. And so this is our aha instruments that we use continuously up there for 9 months. Okay.
Right. In the background, you can see another set of kahili that were made for us by one of Mapuana de Silva, Kumu Mapuana de Silva's students from her halau, Mohala Ilima, and the 4 kahili, that's a desktop arrangement, but the 4 kahili represent the female deities on the Mauna. So we received that pretty early while we were up there, and it remained present every time we did our ceremony. And you also see the ki'i that we had looked at a little earlier. And that ki'i during the coup season was present. And a little later, we only have a couple more slides if you just stick with us, and we'll show you the ki'i that were brought to ceremony during the other part of the other season.
Ooh.
Okay, this is one of our aha. And this is the part of the aha when they are announcing themselves. So many people that approached us. And we had, as I said, we had in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And they had a choice, whoever was approaching, when they wanted to do their approach. But as they approached, they also had to have someone to say who they were, announce who they were, telling us their purpose, etc. If they didn't have someone, we would send someone who we had so that they would be brought in formally. So it's a formal exchange between us and those who are coming.
Right. This group is from Samoa. You can see that they're bringing their flags in with them. And as we were speaking about flags earlier, you can see some of the representation of flags that were flying alongside the road on the left side of this picture. So this is the Samoan group and their speaker in the front who is speaking in, this one spoke in Hawaiian, in Samoan, and then in English to introduce themselves.
And then one of the things we did when they introduced themselves, then we accepted them by going out and either doing a chant and accepting them. If we don't send anyone to accept, yeah, you cannot approach. So there is the exchange. The exchange is needed.
Yep, and this is a picture of that.
Yeah, of this accepting by doing the hula.
Right.
And the picture that she had prior to this, this is a whole group that's coming, and they are bringing a very, very long lei. You can see that the lei it starts over here at the beginning, and then it moves along both sides of the group that's approaching. And I'm not sure where the group is from. We had
I
groups.
think that this group was from Oahu.
Okay, so we had groups with young people from colleges in the mainland that came and gave offering as well. But you know, they're making a lei, so they're from the islands. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and here we are. So the pictures you saw a little bit earlier were from the back. That was our view as we were sitting there welcoming and viewing the protocol as they approached. So this is just a different view. This is what they would be looking at when they look back at us. And Tipu, you want to talk a little bit about this?
This is the actual aha, the ceremony. And you can see all of the drums that we have, and the main drum that we showed you earlier. We have kumuhulas in the back row. This is Kekuhi that's sitting on this side. And Kekuhi was in charge of all of the ahas, putting it together, see that it went forward. Ilima Mapuana is from Oahu. So Kumuhula from Oahu. She spent a lot of time on the mountains, a lot of months on the mountains. So we really mahalo her for making that effort and pulling herself away from her island of Oahu. We also have Hokulani Holt Padilla from the island of Maui. And she spent a lot of times on the mountain as well. And then we have Nani Lim and Nani's son. And this is Pua's daughter. Yeah. And this is a boy who is learning to drum. And this is the whole idea of the protocol is kind of a portal to protocols. And the whole idea of the aha gave people an okay that it was okay to chant, it was okay to dance, it was okay to have these ceremonies of exchange. And so that protocol was very beneficial to all of Hawaii. And there's a lot of people that learn from it. On each of the islands, they had their own protocol. And some of our people went to the other islands to teach them the protocol, etc. And so it spread far and wide. So it was not only done on the island, it was not only kapu for the Mauna, but it was kapu for us to continue to do it. And in order for us to do that, we had to teach people to do it. And we never saw so many people that did not know how to dance actually get up and dance. And a lot of men got up to dance that never danced before. So again, this is a nice way of introducing to them that it's all right to do this. And it's not so kapu only for these people that only teach dance and only them can do it. Yes, no, it's for Hawaii and those Hawaiians who want to learn to do it and want to teach it to all of us who live in Hawaii. The idea of this reciprocity, that's what the AHA was all about. Okay.
So this is the last of our photos to share with you. As Pua mentioned earlier, that we had 4 ceremonies a day. The first one was always at sunrise, that the community of us that were still living up there would get up and we would greet the sun and we would do our chants. And you can tell by the ki'i that are here in the front that this is during the time of Lono. So this is going to be sometime between the fall equinox and by the time we left, which was in March, you can see we're all freezing cold. It's probably about 6 in the morning, and before we even have our coffee, we are out there doing our ceremony, and we have the ki'i representing the Lono season and the ipu, and then those kahili that you saw in the earlier, with the beautiful morning light, and that's what you're looking at there. Yeah.
And people came from Jamaica, came from the Americas all over, came from New Zealand, Japan, Okinawa, Palestine, Beijing, Mexico, Canada, Alaska, Paris, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Tahiti, Tonga, Samoa, Hawaii. Motorcycle clubs came and offered. Popular musicians came up to give us concerts. Hula halaus, many hula halaus came up and offered their dances. Church groups came up to offer their themselves and give us their support. School groups, lots of different school groups, all age and from all over the world came to give us HO'OKUPUs. And so that's our story of HO'OKUPUs in Kukulu. Sir?
Thank you so much. That was really moving. That was beautiful and that was moving. We so appreciate it.
And I like this title of Unifying the World with One Offering at a Time.
Unifying the world, one offering at a time. And now I think we all get a deeper understanding of that. Thanks for the presentation. I'd like to encourage anybody who has a question to put it in the chat. And I'd also like to recognize a few other people. Thank you so much for contributions, Pua Case and Kekuhi Ke'ali'i Kanakaʻole, who put in appearances. I'd also like to recognize 2 people. Bob Douglas, I'm so honored that you're in the audience here, who is also exhibiting in a parallel show here at the EHCC, and whose beautiful painting of the Mauna you described so nicely. So congratulations. I'd also like to recognize Andre Kramars, our gallery director and curator, who was, I think, very active in helping this thing come together. And I know he so enjoyed working with all of you and was honored to do so. Are there any questions here? I see somebody in the has put in how you can contribute. That's very nice. Thank you. How do I do this? Type message, here we go. Also, I'd like people to know that the exhibit continues through May 28th here at the East Hawaii Cultural Center by Kalakaua Park. We'd love to have you. All of the pieces that were talked about today are on exhibit here and beautifully exhibited. We also have every Wednesday at 3 p.m. one of the participants from the Mauna is going to talk about just one or two pieces from her or his own perspective. And I know one yesterday was just fascinating. It included chant, that was wonderful. And we'll be doing that every Wednesday throughout the show. What else do I need to say? Oh, and we're gonna have one more presentation like this, a Zoom discussion next month on May 13th. More on the broader cultural ritual background, including the correspondence between ritual and hula. And considering some of our guests today are famous Kumu hula, I think that should be just absolutely fascinating. And we're really honored. So I invite you to join us again on May 13. And tell you the truth, I'm trying to figure out how to see. I know, I'm going to turn the chat off, turn the chat on. There's the little bar.
You need a 16-year-old that knows how to press everything and everything works. I have a couple of those.
Okay, I found it now. You're right. Okay. Oh, in the chat, there are directions. If anybody feels like contributing, we would be thrilled. Somebody wonders, can this be a traveling exhibit? I don't know the answer.
You know, Larry, I see a note in the chat that says you need permission to access the survey. So I don't want people to leave without doing your survey. That's important.
Oh, okay. I hope that
somebody has to figure out how to open that for everybody. Also, while you're doing that, can I just also acknowledge so many of you that are watching? I finally get a chance to look and see who's here.
Yeah.
Ku'u, hi Ku'u. Many of you, I talked about all the different people who contributed, and many of you are right here. And some of you just spend days and nights and weeks and months with us on the Mauna, supporting us in every way possible, and we really appreciate that. We had people who, talk about just love for our community. They didn't necessarily agree with our political position, but they brought us food because we were up there on the Mauna, Still makes me cry. So, yeah.
Well, we have
we love you all.
Molly Peters, who was a photographer up there for a long time,
Right.
stayed with us. It was nice to see you, Molly. Well, nice to see you.
I'm seeing the comments about the survey. I'm not the techie, thank God. And I don't know anything about the survey, but I wonder, Carol, if you're there, I've just unmuted you. Can you tell us about the survey?
No, Pualani Smith, IPE.
Uh-oh.
Really?
I think my best I can do is say, if you'd like to do the survey, I'm sorry, I don't know how that works, but you could send a message to admin@ehcc.org and you'll get a response that way. admin@ehcc.org. That's the best I can do about the survey. Are there other questions? Kelly says she's working to fix the survey access. Great.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I've been talking and it's like, but Larry's talking right over me, why? Now I know. Anyway, thank you, Kelly, for working to fix it. Let me just pimp our survey a little bit. We're, trying to gather more data because that's very important to organizations that support us. They want to know that people like all of you who are listening now took the time to listen and then gave us your feedback in terms of, was it good, was it bad, whatever. Please be honest.
But anytime you fill out a survey for a lecture or a visit to our gallery or a visit to our theater, it really helps support the organization. So now I'm done. I'll shut up and mute myself again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And Kelly says she's working to improve the survey access, so that should be up and running in just a little bit. Thank you again. I think that's concluded.
Okay.
We are humbled, we are honored, and I think we're all enriched by the presentation today. We're really
And
grateful.
we're mahalo to the East Hawaii Culture Center for allowing us this time to put together an exhibit to talk about our mountain.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mahalo. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Oh, nah.